Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. My humble prostrations to God Almighty, the one omnipresent, all-pervading consciousness. I humbly bow down to the same consciousness present in the form of Lord Krishna and Arjuna, whose discussion we will be discussing today again. And for the beautiful interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita, my humble prostrations to our loving Gurudev and our loving Guruji. I humbly bow down to the same consciousness that is present in each one of you. Good morning, welcome. Hope you all had a good heavy breakfast because today is lunar eclipse. And hope you all have a good nap during this talk so that I can be... I was told that the talk is 40 minutes and 20-minute discussion, and I was telling Tapasyaji as I came in, maybe you can reverse it and make it 40 minutes of discussion and 20 minutes of talk. The verses that I was assigned from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 56, 57, 58, and the title of the talk was Who is Established in Wisdom? And that is the discussion. And again, as many of you know, Bhagavad Gita is this beautiful dialogue that is happening between Lord Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield. And Arjuna develops weak knees at the last minute, and then Lord Krishna steps in to bump him up. And it is good that he developed weak knees. If not, we would not have these teachings from which we can eternally continue to keep learning. So Gurudev also loved these verses, verses 56 to 58, and he would refer to them often. I'll just read the verse, his translation, and then we'll go a little bit into the discussion. And we don't have to do this 40-20 split. Anytime you chime in and say, look, I have a question, let's discuss. Let's do that, very informal. Dukkeshu anudvignamanaha sukeshu vigata spruhaha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadir munir uchate ya sarvatra nabi sneha tattat prapya shubha shubham nabi nandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. That is 56 and 57. And Gurudev translates it as the first verse, that is 56, he translates as, he whose mind remains undisturbed in sorrow, who does not seek pleasure, who is free from passion, fear, and anger, is called a sage established in wisdom. The mind of a person, that is the next verse, which is 57, the mind of a person who is free from affection, attachment, fondness, love, and tenderness, who is not affected by pleasure and pain, and who is above these qualities, is established in wisdom. And then the 58th, verse 58, Yada samharte chayam kurmo anganiva sarvashaha indriyani indriyatebhyasya tasya prajna pratishtita. When a devotee fully withdraws their senses from the sense objects, as a tortoise withdraws its limbs from all directions, they are established in wisdom. So this is about who is a person established in wisdom or sthita prajna. And this is the explanation, and this is what we are going to discuss today. So let's come back to the very first part of the verse where we are looking at verse 56, and then we have both Gurudev's interpretation and also Guruji's beautiful discussion. So here we are talking Sukeshu Vigata Spruhaha, and then there is Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Sukeshu is in happiness. Then we have Vita Raga. Raga is liking, attachment, and then there is Vita Bhaya. Bhaya is fear. And then again, if you attach Vita to the last one, is Vita Krodha. One who is free from these three things to start with. And we are looking at that. So raga, attachment, why do we get attached? And the exact same few things are talked about likes and dislikes by sage Patanjali. He talks about it as the kleshas, 5 main obstacles. And there he says the first one is avidya. Nescience or ignorance. And again, ignorance here does not mean textbook or degrees. We are talking about ignorance from the fact that I am ignorant of who I am. I'm not established in the self, as a result of which the actions that follow are all associated with this sense of duality. So there he talks about, first thing is avidya, then he talks about the next thing is asmita, ego. Then comes raga, and then dvesha. And finally abhinivesha, which is fear of death. So raga, likes, dvesha, dislikes. And these likes, why does it happen? Why do we like something, and what are the things we like? Anything and everything, all the sense objects all around us, whether it is people or food or scenes or situations, certain kinds of work, whatever it is that we like, we get attached to it. Why is it that we get attached to these things? Desire, yes. And how is it that this desire is coming about, and what is the instrument that is conveying this desire? Pardon? The senses. And you said ego. Yes, these are all interconnected. So the senses are being utilized to convey. So when I see a beautiful flower, I like it. I see a beautiful car, I like it. I like to see my bank balance to be heavy. I get attached and I get sucked in. I become a day trader. And I'm all the time on the computer. Or I become a automotive nut, going after cars and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be, and it can be anything, this attachment in the form of anything. And that's where it is being said, who is established in wisdom? A person who doesn't get attached to anything. He lives in the world, enjoys all these things, but doesn't get attached. I see gulab jamun, and I see they are talking to me, saying, hey, look at me. Many of you know what is gulab jamun, right? Well, let me tell you. It's a nice Indian sweet. It's brown in color, or you can take, for that matter, rasgulla, which is made out of cheese, right? And we have Bengalis here in the form of Amit Baba and Somama, who are experts in. They're talking to me, saying, hey, look at me, have some. I don't have some. I pretty much clean out a whole bowl. I can't stop myself. And we get attached to these things. And attachment, when we are talking about senses and the ego, there is yet another verse again in the second chapter that Lord Krishna is talking about. It starts with the sense objects, Vishaya. So, and the object can be anything. In the case of a sweet, a flower, a woman, a man, my son, my daughter, it can be anything. The object. And I look at the object through my senses, either through the eyes, the taste, smell, whatever it is. And then the experience is that I like it. And because I like it, I want to repeat. From that liking slowly begins attachment. And then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So that is what is the issue. And in terms of this attachment, we also have the opposite, which is dvesha. And with this object itself, let us say there's an object and you're not able to acquire that object. Then what? Yes, acquired it, easy, no problem. Problem solved. There is satisfaction and there is gradual attachment to it, etc. And in that process, there is also craving and all that good stuff, right? For example, my classic gulab jamun stuff. Oh, there's no jamun in the fridge. I have to go to the Indian store. I'm craving for it, The tongue is waiting for it. So if it is not met, then what happens? Frustration, then automatically anger starts up. And then what happens? With the anger comes the decline of the mind. That is where eventually it ends in intellectual failure. When the discrimination basically goes apart. And because I'm not able to make sound decisions, and it's done. A classic story that I narrate, which has actually happened many times, if you've read in the news, is there is a young man walking down the street. He is wearing the latest sneakers Nike has released. Call it Air Jordan, for example, right? And there's another person looking at that scene. Another young man who is not earning. He's a child of a single mother, but he is looking at this thing and he says, look at the shoes. Oh my God. This thing is, wow, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. He goes and tells him, oh, mom, look at that, I gotta have that thing. Mom says, are you crazy? I'm having difficulty. I'm having 2-3 jobs. There's no food on the table. I'm trying to make ends meet. You know how much that thing is going to cost me? I can't afford that thing. Don't be crazy. Says, okay. Next day, the same person is walking down the street. He's looking at it. He says, oh man, I gotta have that, man. And then he tells his friends, oh God, man, you got to look at the shoes. It is fantastic. Not able to get it. One attempt has gone. And then he tries to con his friends into giving him money. They say, no, we're not going to give you any money. So the mind begins, it's frustrated. It wants the object. It's thinking. Begins thinking, how should I get that thing? An idea. The guy is walking, the street is quiet. I'm just going to take a baseball bat and hit him on his head. Take the shoes. Just leave him. I'll just take the shoes and disappear. That is what happens. Frustration builds in and then this intellect, discriminative capability declines and finished, gone. And so, execution. He says, okay, I'm going to execute it. Execute the plan. Happens. But unfortunately, that bop of the baseball bat was not a simple bop. The bop, but then after that person's head hits the ground and is gone. The shoes is his. Series of problems. So, and this has happened in real life. Sometimes with a baseball bat, sometimes with a much more powerful weapon. But here we're talking about how a person becomes established. There's no attachment to anything. live in the world but not attached. And this very closely ties into the verse 58 as we talk about this. And here, when we look at this very first verse, he remains undisturbed. He is not seeking for pleasure. He is free from passion, fear, and anger. And some of these things are all interlinked. The fear, passion, anger are all interlinked. Why and how? Come back to these 5 kleshas. That's the link. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. From avidya comes ego, asmita. From ego, everything comes. Ego is the anger is because of ego. Fear is because of ego. Passion, attachment, likes, dislikes, all of it stems from this root. And this root, ego, is the most powerful aspect or element of our what? Mind. It's the 4th part of the mind. The mind is made up of 4 parts. The flow of thought, intellect, memory, and ego. We need to know this as meditators because that is what we are working against. So we need to understand the mechanics of what we are working with, how to tackle this. So automatically when we come to these verses, that means that person who is a sthita prajna, who is established in wisdom, has gotten to a state of mastering the mind, mastering the ego. So that is the key. Master the ego and then the rest of it will automatically address themselves. And all of these, either these 4 parts of the mind, they're just instruments. It is not that God has said, here, take it, I've given you some problems, work with it. They're just instruments that the divine has given us. How we use them and apply them becomes our role. So, and the sthita prajna is basically free from all of these things. And when we talk about the fears, we have fear in each one of the chakras. Starting with the bottom chakra, too less of a money, am I going to have food on the table? Am I be able to clothe myself? Am I going to be able to pay the rent? You know, fear of all kinds. Too much money, saying, when am I expecting an IRS raid? How do I stash my cash in the Cayman Islands or Barbados or somewhere else? Thinking of alternatives. So, and you systematically go up chakra by chakra, you're analyzing and you're seeing there are problems in each chakra, there are fear. So a sthita prajna has established him or herself in that state where has transcended each one of these things. Mastery of the mind. How do we achieve mastery of the mind? Very simple. That's what we are here for, right? Meditation, Kriya Yoga, the most powerful method. And when we talk about the next verse, the mind of a person who is free from affection, attachment, fondness, love, tenderness. And so immediately, automatically in your mind you may say, should I not really show all these things to anybody? And that is where Gurudev's teaching is. He says, you have to be compassionately detached. Show compassion. Help people in society, and whether it is your own wife, the husband, the child, the daughter, the son, all good. But living with that knowledge that everything is temporary, they're going to find their way. I've done my duty. I'm going to take care of them, give them the best, and let go. And serving all of those people, regardless of what the relationship is, with an attitude that I'm serving the divine. That kind of a nature begins to change our perception and how we deal with this whole issue of affection and tenderness. This raga, this liking, it is, Guruji compares it to like a fire. When there is a fire, you can choose to either add fuel or not to add fuel. If you feed it, it's just going to burn brighter. So that is one way. You starve it of fuel and start going down. How do you starve it of fuel? Train the senses. Because the senses are the ones that are the instruments going after these, right? So you train the senses and then you automatically begin to bring things under control. So that is what is the last verse where we're talking about kurma. Kurma means the turtle or tortoise. As you may know, the minute you touch a turtle that's walking or there, everything goes in protective nature, right? So withdraw the senses from the world, and that's what it is. How do we do that? And this from raga comes anuraga, more attachment, and that's what Guruji is talking about. And the opposite, the same word raga, anuraga is more attachment, viraga is detachment. And this liking, Guruji beautifully explains this in the Bhagavad Gita discourses that he has given, where he says, first there is raga, which is liking and longing. Then vasana. Then there is kamana. Vasana is longing, and it's a stronger longing, you can say. Kamana, strong desire to get it. I want this, is there any hope? You're talking about the shoes, right? How can I get the shoes? Then asha, yes, I have hope. I think there is hope. I think in the night I can bop this guy on the head. So yeah. Lobha. Lobha is more expectation, and lobha is also kind of almost bordering on greed. And then you have trishna, thirst. We may not get the object, we may not experience the object, but in the mind, there is still the thirst. I want that. When the situation is right, it will come in, invade. So that's how it works. And all of these are very, very close to each other, and they are basically desire in the form of different strength. So, I mean, we talk about this attachment that is being referred to, affection, attachment, etc. We briefly talked about attachment only to people, right? But it can be attachment to anything. A place, an object, a book, a piece of clothing, my car, my house. Over here, meditation hall. My chair has to be in a certain place. I'm going to reserve the spot. I'm attached to it. I have to sit in front of Guruji. I have to stare at him like that. Okay. There are a series of them who line up, and you can say, okay, I can predict who's going to line up in front of him. Attachment. So, attachment of all kinds. It's very interesting. Here, during this discourse of the Bhagavad Gita, Guruji narrates a particular incident. Many of you may have heard about Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, right? Great, great master from India. He talks to a young man, a 16-year-old kid, a teenager, and he says, Why are you attached to this lady? And who is the lady? 60-year-old person. 60. The kid is 16. The lady is 60. He says, she is like my mother. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, this is not spiritual sadhana, it's not good. You never know where that connection will lead to. That is why in the Upanishads it says the spiritual path is like walking on a razor's edge. You never know this side or that side, one get cut and drop. So it's very, very tricky. So we have to live in the world, not be attached, and continue to operate. That is the message. And in this attachment, we get attached to our near and dear ones. Husband, wife, kid, father, mother. And with that comes an association of fear. When are they going to leave? What happens to me after that? So many complexities arise because of that. So even though it's just one word, raga, attachment, attached to that is so many things. Automatically fear creeps in because of that. I have a car, beautiful car, brand new. But I feel, no, I don't want to park in the Walmart parking lot. Man, somebody's going to bang it or key the car. Fear. So I'm going to park far away in that other thing and I'm going to walk to it, walk to the store. So you have to be careful. So that they're all interlinked and attached. And in this particular verse, there is the very first word, anudvignamanaha, the state of mind. And Guruji talks about this and he says, there are three states of mind. First state is prabuddha, which is an active state of mind in which you are a jiva, meaning a body associated with the soul, bound and living in the world, just like normally, like me and every one of us. The second state is sanglina. Mind in this state, it's quiet, united, and united with the divine, Ishvara. And then there is a third state, which is pralina, where mind is dissolved and you are in Brahman. Mind ceases to exist. State of samadhi. These three stages. And we go through all of these three stages and most of us are in the state of the jiva right now. The state of sanglina, in which the mind is united with God or Ishvara, that is the state of sthitadi, established, is what Lord Krishna is talking about. And so this interpretation and this beautiful interpretation can come only from a realized master, because he's saying, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, not bought the t-shirt. So it just, what state do we want to be in? And each of these states are associated with different states of mind. If the mind is anywhere from the throat chakra down below, that is called prabuddha. We are in the world, enmeshed in each of the chakras. Money, food, sex, people, spiritual theory, etc. But you go beyond, Ajna, merged, Sanglina. Fontanelle, Pralina, completely merged, Sahasrara. So it depends on where we want to be, and in our daily practice, how do we get there? The simplest thing for us is watching the breath, keeping us more and more and more higher up. So when we look at the verse 57, Ya sarvatra nabi sneha. The sneha means it is affection. Basically, the word translates in Sanskrit as, Guruji is translating it as affection. And this is very beautiful. Sarvatra, everywhere, in all situations, whether with enemies or friends. Sneha. So that is the difficult part. It is very easy. My friend has been good to me. He or she is very nice to me, etc. So I'm also correspondingly very nice to him or her. But now if that person in my mind has been imprinted as my sworn enemy, how is my corresponding treatment to the person? Not so good. I'm going to cold shoulder the person and keep them at a distance, not talk to them, this, that, etc. So here, sarvatra sneha, everybody. So the sthita prajna, or person who's established in wisdom, is showing the same to all. And one of the comparisons is sunshine. Does the sun shine equally on Ganga water and on sewage? Yeah, no discrimination. Equal. So that is the behavior of a sthita prajna. So doesn't no bias, no bias. Nabhi sneha, without attachment. And this another word for this sneha, Guruji is explaining, is fat, oil or cream. You touch fat, oil or cream, automatically your hand becomes sticky. He says, be careful. We stick to people, stick to objects, etc. So Adi Shankaracharya has said, sneham cha papam. It's not wise. So but it is natural for a baby and a mother, but for wise people, not to get attached to anything. So be careful. That is the message. And it is not just people that we get attached to. Guruji narrates this story. He's in Vienna doing a program, and there's a mother sitting there meditating, and there are small pictures in front of her, and she's meditating and then doing the bow. What she's seeing? Her child, then the dog, and he's doing the bow. Attachment. And the dog is not there. The dog is gone. Is dead. Still attached. I recently, a few years ago, I was in an ashram. Same thing happened. One of the Kriya one's cat died. They used to call it the beast. This cat, you cannot even say it's a cat. It's a black cat, and that fellow is like, when he spreads out and lies down on the floor, it's like this big. It's like a rug. So huge. The beast went to heaven, died. Could not handle it. Husband and wife could not handle it. Within like few days, replaced with another black cat. Attachment. And what is said again in the Bhagavad Gita? If we are so attached that becomes the last memory, we end up becoming that. I'm thinking of the dog, came down. That happens scripturally. Rishi, meditator, meditating and is very, very advanced. Because of situation, he sees a tiger chasing a deer. The deer comes, and in the process of jumping over a rivulet, jumps over, misses and falls, collapses and dies. But the deer was pregnant, gave birth to a baby fawn, no mother. So this rishi takes the fawn, brings it up, and the rishi thinks the fawn thinks the rishi is the mother. Always there, sitting on his lap, sitting near him and everything. And he is already old. And then one fine day he has to go. And the last thought is, who's going to take care of this baby? And I'm not there. Born as a deer. So attachment has consequences. If not born as a deer, because of that attachment, it causes us to come back again and again and again. Because enjoyment is not complete. So I have to be born again. But for a person who is wanting to be established in wisdom, meaning realized, all these are obstacles not to become attached. And when we talk about this sneha and sarvatra, regardless of who it is, without being biased, treating everybody with the same affection, equality, that is the key things. Nabi nandati, does not rejoice, not dveshti, not rejected. So that is what this is talking about. Then we talk about, it is not only, we are talking about certain objects, but also situations, right? This likes and dislikes of situation. Oh, it's too hot. Indian summer. I'm going out, I just come out of the shower, I just walked from one end of the property to the other, pouring sweat. Sweat, sweat, sweat. It's too cold, it's too hot. But for a sthita prajna, it does not matter. Hot, cold, rainy, doesn't matter. Unshaken by anything, or by any situation, any circumstance, and not attached to anything. It is that attachment which causes us to seek this comfort. I'm comfortable only when the temperature is 69. That's why husband is sleeping upstairs, wife is sleeping downstairs. Because he wants it in 80 degrees, wife wants it at 69 or 62. So, different situation. So we have to be free from anger, fear, hatred, and joy also. So, not to become either elated or depressed. Equanimity, equipoised, regardless of what situation. And that situation can be anything, gain or loss, doesn't matter. Unshaken. That is a person established in wisdom. And that is why a person in that state, his eyes are just filled with love, speaks with fullness, speaks for the betterment of everyone, not out of emotion or attachment. That is the words of Guruji. And that is why you see, you encounter any realized master, that is what you will see in them. There is such purity flowing out of people's eyes. Yeah. So when we come to the next verse, which is 58, withdrawing our senses. I know too much gulab jamun is good for me. Why? Chronic diabetic. But man, those jamuns are talking to me, you know. It's like M&Ms, you know, have faces and they're talking to me. I gotta have this guy. I had two uncles. I made a few uncles, but two of them, same problem. Chronic diabetic. Doctor injections and the whole 9 yards, and eventually left their body because of diabetes, not be able to control. And the wife is trying to control everything, saying, I'm preparing food like this, no sugar, this, that, etc. All the cut out. Yeah, I'm just going for a walk in the evening. You walk out and somewhere you take something else, eat something in the shop, come back quietly. Polish out some sweets or somewhere. No control. Tongue is not under control. Withdraw, unable to withdraw the senses. It is like these senses and the sense objects, that is why this is like a drug. Some of you may have heard of the name Eric Clapton, right? He's a very famous guitarist. In an interview, one of the interviews, and guitarist and singer. And so he said his first addiction was what? Sugar. And this interview was, he's become very old, suffering, all kinds of stuff. Why? Cocaine addict. First was sugar, then eventually cocaine. As it happens with most of the film actors and musicians and all these guys, they get involved in all kinds of stuff. He's saying, this is my problem. And that is what it is. It just draws you in and done. So if you know how to withdraw, no problem. You can be like Neem Karoli Baba. Take a whole packet of LSD. What LSD? Drink some water, chilled out. No problem. Sthita Prajna. Unshaken. Undisturbed. Apparently somebody came to Guruji and said, why is it wrong to take bhang? Bhang, the name for marijuana in India is bhang. Lord Shiva takes bhang. That is what is offered to him, right? As prasad. So Guruji responded, yeah, you first be like Lord Shiva, you first consume poison. Then you can take whatever you want. Because Lord Shiva drank poison, held it in his throat and said, no problem. But our problem is, I want to have the cake and I want to eat it too. That is our problem. So how to withdraw these senses? The senses are powerful. And the whole symbolism of Mahabharata, when you talk about Mahabharata, the first scene that is shown is Lord Krishna as the charioteer, 5 horses, the reins being held by Lord Krishna, and thus Arjuna, the 5 horses, the 5 senses held in control. How do you do that? Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes us perfect. Gurudev's statement. The more we practice as meditators, the more we are able to master the senses and withdraw the senses. And that is why Kriya Yoga is Chaturanga Sadhana, right? The last 4. You have heard of Ashtanga, Ashta-anga, 8 limbs. But Kriya Yoga is only the last 4. Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. Pratyahara is withdrawal. Withdrawal does not mean going to rehab. Withdrawal means pulling the senses in, knowing when to say, it is fine. I ate 1 jamun, fine, but I did not clean out the whole plate. Knowing when to be able to stop. Same thing, whether it's jamun or any food for that matter. I'm just talking sweet, 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 but you have the opposite end of the spectrum. And this raga, in Odia, apparently it means spicy. Some people love spicy food. In India, if you come to India, there are 2 states, quite a few states actually. You come to Tamil Nadu or you come to Andhra Pradesh, eat food. You light both, it's like candle with a wick on both ends. You light both the ends. You light the mouth on fire and in the morning you'll see the other end is also on fire. Say, Guruji says you're singing both morning while eating it and afterwards also. Spicy food. And this food is associated with the type of personality. Right? Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. A Sthitadi is typically a sattvic person. But he doesn't react when it is either Rajasic or Tamasic. He says, okay, it is there. But the typical Rajasic person will be more indulgent in all these kind of food automatically. And that is again described in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna. I think I've done my 40 minutes, so I'll open it up for discussion. I've got 45 minutes, so I've done much better. But withdrawing of the senses is the key, because the mind cannot operate on its own. The mind is Dhritarashtra, completely blind. It is using the senses and then playing. The mind directs the senses to say, hey, look at this person. Hey, look at this nice, beautiful food or whatever it is. So it is the senses and the mind.